Friends, thank you for having me here. I'm going to speak to you about law. As Hetal said, each profession needs to be a passion. Unless you like it, you love it. There's no point doing it. So now, as visually impaired friends here, there is a problem, yes. But, well, law is one place that you won't find it's such a problem. What is law? Basically, it's rules, regulations, and things that you do correctly. That's the basis. Why should you be studying law? Because you're intelligent, because you're smart, because you have a great memory, because you can communicate well. You need to do law. You can use all your talents in no other profession like the way you can do it in law. If you like theater, you can act. You can act in court, of course, but you like writing, you like literature, you want to be a journalist, and your family doesn't want you to do that, well, it doesn't matter. You can write in law. You can write great contracts. You can write good documents. They're nice. It's a little different, but, well, that's nice. Okay, you don't want to be that? Okay, you want to be a dietitian maybe, but how will you do that with law? You balance your words, keep your health proper, and don't get stressed, because you have to stress the other person and not your client. Okay. No. So, well, all the careers that you've been listening to yesterday and that you'll continue to listen to today, all those things that you've heard there, you can do in law. It's multifaceted. You can do lots and lots of things with law. Okay, now I'll tell you about the studying of law. Law is a 3-year course or a 5-year course. Both are accepted by Maharashtra. In India, some states like Maharashtra they allow both 3 and 5. How is it 3? 3 after the BA, BCom or BSc exams. So you pass from your you graduate, then you do 3 years of law. Or you do +5 after the 12th. You can start from any field. You can start from science, arts or commerce. It doesn't matter where. Both the courses are good and they have their plus and minuses. We can discuss it at lunchtime. What should you do? But if you've finished after the 12th, you're in the first year or second year, then we'll do it after the 3rd year. What happens during the course? During the course, you have exams every 6 months. You have 3 papers before the terminal, before the first semester, 3 papers in the second semester. Similarly, this goes on. What happens is that you need to study. Everything is not available with the professor, but a lot is available with professor. So you need to go to class. Most people like to bunk law college. That's not on. You can't bunk law college, okay? I don't know about any other class, but you can't bunk law college, okay? Secondly, your books. Everything is accessible. We have all material accessible. There shouldn't be any reason why you shouldn't get a book. So there is no problem for us. As far you'll get an audio text, you'll get an e-text, you will even have large print if you ask for it. So no issues there. Your exams, writer facility available, and your mind, your memory. That's something that you have. You have to learn it. Most of you are studying history or sociology or other subjects which have dates. You will learn those dates up the same way you will learn them in law. You will learn section numbers, not dates so much. That is the studying of law. It's not difficult. In between the terms, you have a vacation of 6 to 8 weeks. That is the time where the difficulty arises. You need to work during that period. If you have family and friends in the profession, please go and sit in their offices. It's very essential. You must pick up. You must understand what is going on in a law office. It's just not fighting a case in court. It's a lot more than that. So you need to work. That is the first break that you require. The more practical experience you have, the better lawyer you will be, the better job you will get after your graduation. That's the studying part of it. After the LLB, you can do an LLM, which is basically an academic exam, not required for practice, however, required for academics. In case you want to teach law, in case you want to go for further studies, in case you want to go for research, or just for your own knowledge. The solicitor's course. When you finish the LLB and you're a lawyer, after that, you go and enroll with the Bar Council, which is our parent body, where you are enrolled. Like the CAs have the CA Institute, the lawyers have a Bar Council. It's the Bar Council of India. You register with Bar Council of Maharashtra because you're in Maharashtra. And you are eligible to appear in court after that and sign as an advocate. Additionally, you can do the solicitor's course, which is like the CA course, you do articles. It's additional, it's not needed, you need not do it, but again, a solicitor is more respected. I did it because I loved law, so I just kept on studying. So you can do that. You have to keep your articles with another solicitor, a senior solicitor. Once you do that, you have to work with him for 2 years, and then you can give the exams. The exam is a tough exam. 6 papers, you can do it on, part. There's no problem with that. But it's a good exam to give. And for the visually challenged, I would recommend it because you need that extra qualification to get you ahead of the others. You must realize that though it's a serious issue that others get away with half, you can't. You have to do double and triple more. Unless you do more than others, you will not succeed in this world. I don't know what everybody has told you in these 2 days, but if anybody didn't tell you that being visually challenged is a big challenge, then they're sadly mistaken. And I have to tell you this here and be serious about it. Because it is tough. It is tougher than for the others. So let's forget about the fluff and the world is for us and things like that. We have to make the world happen. So let's go for higher education. You need more education. That's it. You can do PhD as well. That's subsequently. You could get a teaching job after that if you're interested. There are online exams, online courses, which you should be able to do. You should do these while you're studying because your course is not very difficult to study. So while you're studying your LLB, there are lots of online courses which you must take up because that gives you the additional, So that's fine. So that's the studying part of law. Now let's think of what are the careers that you can do in law. The old and what you're all familiar with, my lord, appearing in court, okay? That's the original and what everybody knows of a lawyer, okay? Today, that is just 20% of a good lawyer's time. If you look back and think about it, what's happening more in India? Lots of transactions, lots of written work. A person dies, before that he needs a will. That's drafting. You want to buy a flat, you have to do proper agreement. If you don't do proper agreement, somebody will come and throw you out of your house. So your agreement, your drafting of documents. That's the first thing. When I was studying, there was like a 50% of appearing in court and 50% of drafting. Today, drafting has increased. Why? Because mergers and acquisitions. Because HR needs it. In HR, you have employment contracts. Today, people just leave their companies. Can the IT sector afford to lose their people? No. The people just leave, right? So unless you have a proper contract, you have a proper bond, and who does all that? The lawyer. Then SEBI. SEBI requires you have to, do this properly. Is this stamped properly? Is this correct? Is that correct? Are you following the law? Well, this is something called a compliance officer. Most of the time, the compliance officer has to be a lawyer. That's a very good job available today. So when you're doing a lot of desk work today, you do not have to be in the same mode that you had to be earlier, where when you went and shouted in court. What else has happened in law is the LPO. You've all heard of BPOs and you've all heard of medical transcriptions. So what is an LPO? LPO is a legal outsourcing, okay? So what is legal outsourcing? A company in America, a firm in America of lawyers can't afford to do all the work there. They outsource it to India. So you need to work on it here and return it to them within a frame of time. Also what happens here itself, big law firms can't afford to do all the things themselves. So they give it to smaller law firms. They give it to people like me. Okay, Kanchan, handle this for us. We'll pay you for it, okay? You don't interact with the client at all. The client is the client of the law firm, but you are doing the work and the law firm is your client. So you could be doing this on an individual basis or working for the outsourcing unit. It could be drafting, as in corrections. Like supposing they have a contract. I know a company in India which has Hollywood clientele. Basically, they have a movie coming up soon, and they have an agreement with the director, producer, actors, the entire range of people, the musicians, the technicians, everybody. And all of them are on contract that they will do the contract and they will not break it. Well, all those have to be more or less on the same terms because, the terms are the same. It's just the name of the person changes, the amount he's going to be paid, his term of time. Those are things that need changes. But somebody has to be accurate on that. And you and me, we can do those things. It's all available for us. So legal outsourcing is the new future. It's coming along. It's available. You can do it. There's no problem on that. There is no problem at all. Just be prepared for what you're going to see ahead of you. A lot of drafting happens with patents and trademarks and copyrights, and all these are happening in India for foreign companies. It's too costly to do them abroad. Also in India, as I told you, the wills, earlier people said, oh, I'll not make a will because the minute I make a will, I'll die. Today, everybody's very practical about it. And they all want to do it. Agreements, first money is to be given on trust. I'm lending you 20,000 rupees, you return it to me whenever you can. Okay? Today, you can't do that kind of thing. So, there's always a loan agreement, there's a promissory note, there are documents to be done. How do you know and what do you know? Okay? If you work with a law firm, that's the best thing to do during your education and immediately after. Do not think of starting a practice immediately. But start working with somebody or a firm. The minute you start working, you are sitting there. You hear the problems. The client comes in. He tells you, this is my problem. This is the solution that I can think of. Can you think of a better solution? So you have to give him the answer then accordingly. Just think about it. These are possibilities that we have ahead of us. Now let's think of what are the problems that we have. And here I'd like any of you all to break at any time and ask me a question because now I've finished my first 5 minutes, so you're welcome to stop any time, ask the question, and I'll answer it here and now. As far as the career goes for law, the problems that we have ahead of us. And there are problems. First, to get your first break, okay? It's difficult to convince a law firm to take you on. It's very difficult, but you have to go ahead. And let's think of what all the things that you can do and how do you improve yourself to sell yourself properly. It's marketing again. You have to be able to sell yourself, to convince somebody. If you can't convince a law firm to take you on as an assistant, an associate, junior, whatever you call it, how are you going to convince a client that you're a good lawyer? So you have to be able to convince them, okay? And how can you convince them? By having the right kind of attitude. The first thing is the attitude. You need to win it. You need to get your work. So it's the attitude, the communication skills. You have to be able to write. And how can you write? There are two aspects here. One, obviously, is the language. And the other, mainly, is the knowledge. If you have the phone on while I'm speaking, I will walk out from here. Okay? And that's something you will have to learn to keep shut. Okay, then you can shut the program off because I don't think you would want to disturb anybody in your college, or you can't do it at work, you can't do it in a seminar. You have to be inclusive and be integrated. I also have a watch on. I have a Braille watch on. I have never learned Braille, but I have no choice but to be part of it. Okay? So your watch, you'll have to control. Nobody is going to press that watch and check the time in a seminar or a conference. You don't want to show your blindness, do you? I'm not saying hide it, but don't flaunt it. No, you'll have to then learn how to unprogram them. Okay, you'll have to learn how to do it. Whoever it is, will have to learn. Whatever. Do whatever you have to do, but don't show off your blindness, please. Okay? No, this is something that, this is something I like to tell all of you all. When you go out in a conference, when you're in public, in front of people, you're the only one among so many. And if you're a woman, you're really one of a few out there. There are very few women. And on top of that, you're a blind woman. Okay, that's the one thing. Okay, but blindness does stand out. Why do you want to flaunt it? You have a problem, but don't make an issue about it. And nobody's going to give you work because of that. So let's, these are things let's learn to live with, Yeah, sorry, you want to
I had a question.
Yeah.
You apparently come from a English speaking background.
Right.
I know of students who are from Marathi medium, and they have a big problem getting material for reading.
Okay. In what? Reading Marathi?
Law.
Law. Okay, I'll tell you. See, there are three things here. Marathi is the language of the lower courts, except the High Court. All the other courts, Marathi is allowed. Number two, today with government circulars coming in Marathi, we need to have good Marathi skills. Material available in law in Marathi is available in the sense that I think your graduation will be in English. It will not be in Marathi. So even though you come from Marathi medium, you will be actually doing your graduation in English, and so will you be doing your law in English. So I don't know. You'll have to find material in English itself. You won't be able to, you won't need it in Marathi. If that answers your question.
Hello, ma'am.
Yeah.
I'm looking as a serious career option. I want to know more about corporate law, and is there any institution which gives you specialization in corporate law, and what is the scope of corporate law in India?
Okay. Corporate law is basically law dealing with companies. Now, companies can buy flats. They can also hire staff. They can also do mergers and acquisitions. They can sell shares. They have to deal with SEBI. They have to deal with the company law board and other regulatory authorities. Normally, the LLB course doesn't allow you to really specialize in anything. Additionally, you can do other optional courses online and in India, which allow you to do specializations, okay? Which allow you to, do other courses, actually. As far as work, corporate law has great scope in India. Obviously, it's the highest paying course. You could work with a law firm which does corporate law, in which case, when you work with them, you will get the experience. If you improve your company law knowledge, as well as the allied acts and laws that work with it, you will be better off. So material is available, ma'am, in Marathi. But you don't need it in Marathi, you need it in English, unfortunately.
Excuse me, ma'am.
Yeah.
I have two questions. Firstly, is there any scope in cyber law for visually challenged? And secondly, for a student of law, or even like a fresher in law, if he is going for an employment, he'll need a scribe. Will he need a scribe when he's, let's say, making a case study on like when two cases are right in front of him, and he has to take down some points, right? So how will he manage taking down points when he's working with someone? Of course, like PCs and laptops are an option, but when there are problems where one cannot afford so these technical stuff.
Okay, cyber law is the new law that is going around, which is basically dealing with computers, with electronic stuff. Okay, there's loads of scope for a visually challenged person because we can go on the online, we can go on the net, it's all accessible to us. So, so that's not too difficult for us. There is a lot of scope for us. There is a course in cyber law available. You can do that before. Okay, and you have to know the ground law. That's the law of the land first, because cyber law is connected with, it's committing a crime online while being governed by the laws of the country. So you have to read both. You can't just say, I don't know the Contract Act, and I don't know the Evidence Act in India, while I'll know the cyber law. It's not possible. Okay, you have to know the basic laws first. Okay, as far as let's see how about studying and working with law. Studying is not difficult. Number one, because you get the books, you have to study them. Books are all available, accessible. If you ask for college notes and teachers' notes, it might be a little difficult to get. So those are a little difficult, but all other books are available. All your textbooks are available. You just have to ask for them. It takes a bit of time to put it together, but it's all available. Let's go to this working in law. Braille is something that I wish I had learned. I'm late blind, so I don't know Braille. However, had I known Braille, my life would have been much, much easier. And if you guys get the opportunity, please learn Braille. Note taking is so important today. Today I'm here without paper or without notes. Had I had notes and had I known how to read Braille, my speech would have been much better here. When I go to court and I say, my lord, at that time, I wish I had Braille because I would have then been able to read all the points. I am trying to learn it even now. You really can't carry a laptop into court. Even if they allow you to, it's very difficult to scroll around at that time when you are in the middle of arguing. Nobody's going to give you time. So Braille is the ideal option first for taking notes. Because you've got a fantastic memory, and I'm assuming all of us have got it, we have to read more often. We have to learn it by heart. Okay? Here goes the...
This is Ekinath, ma'am.
Yeah.
There are 3 points.
Just one second. Ekinath, let me finish this one.
Sure.
So Braille, number 1. Number 2, computers. Computers, I don't mean only Microsoft Word. I mean thoroughly. Please, Excel is necessary because most of our schedules, most of the tables that we do are on Excel. You need to maneuver them because now you need to read Excel documents. PowerPoint, absolutely necessary. Don't even think you can miss it. Lawyers don't use it, but at seminars, conferences, to your clients, PowerPoint, very necessary. Corporate law, PowerPoint, absolutely. Okay? The web, necessary, and you can't avoid. Okay? Emails, all communication comes by email today, so there's no choice again. If you do not communicate by email, you'll have to send a letter. A letter will be snail mail, so you'll have to have a reader to read it for you. What is the biggest problem in law is that if you have a file, a paper file that comes to you, it's very difficult to read it. Then you have to get assistance. You get assistance, but there's a problem of confidentiality. Clients are always scared, madam, how will you manage? I don't want other people to know about my matter. So try to get stuff on email. Get e-copies of everything that you can manage. And learn the scanner, scan your material in, and try to be independent. I'm not saying that you can't get assistance and sighted assistance, but please try to be independent because clients are very picky and choosy. And law firms are very hassled about having you and your assistant sitting there. I know a solicitor friend of mine who's much senior than me. He sat in an old law firm, and when he was training, he had a little girl, an 8th standard little girl, sitting there all throughout and reading to him. Today's lawyers are not going to allow it. So adjust yourself. No choice. Yeah, Ekinath.
Ma'am, so far your talk has been very organized and I'm clear about it, but there are 3 points that I would like you to focus on it. Help me out on the guidance part. First is, ma'am, I plan to be an HR, and I'm seeing around that companies, as you mentioned, having contracts. Basically, this bond lock, bonus agreements and contracts. Doesn't it become then bonded labor sort of a stuff? One. Second point is that I have also dealt in my recruitment career with the compliance profiles, where it was very difficult to comprehend between the difference between legal compliance and risk and compliance profiles. That's second. And ma'am, third is, as you rightly mentioned, email. Yeah, that was my curiosity. Does emails or any soft documents is valid as you have hard copies? I mean, what is the stand of the soft copies if we present before the court and in the during the law legal whatever procedures?
First, the HR part of it. The reason for the HR, what I mentioned to you all of y'all, was the HR is a very good department for the visually challenged. In that, one aspect is law recruitment. Okay, once you recruit a person, law is very essential. I'll come back to your answer for him in a second. Okay, so as a lawyer, you have to know the payment of wages, gratuity, bonus. If you have if you work for a company which has a factory, then the Factories Act, the Industrial Disputes Act, there's lots of law involved. And as an HR professional, a part of your course is law. There is no way of getting away from it, okay? Additionally, the Contract Act, because that's a basic law, HR, when you employ somebody, you're paying the person is working for you, there's a contract between the two of you, whether you sign a letter or not. Bond may be considered bonded labor. However, there is something called the Indian Contract Act. If you are a major, that means you're, over the age of 18, you're not an idiot in terms of law, okay? By law, okay. And you can sign a contract, then you're entitled to sign a contract. And if you sign a contract which makes you work for somebody for 2 years, then so be it. You sign it, okay? Now, there's something called restraint of trade. I can't stop you from joining somebody else, but I can put reasonable restrictions, which means that today I teach you something about your company, about the manufacturing process, something different, something on which I spend money to teach you, and I spend my time, my senior staff, then you can't go and work for a competitor. That's the basic point. And you cannot work for a competitor within a reasonable distance. Suppose you go off to Delhi and work, fine. If you go and work next door, you can't. You can't start your own business, which is similar to mine. If I'm a car part manufacturer, you can't start a shop next door and say, I'm also a car part manufacturer. So these are some basic things. Now here the law is very clearly written down. So had you read the law, this question wouldn't have come. But the HR is going to teach you this. The HR course will teach you this in detail. As far as your compliances again are law-based. So if there is a law written down and it says that, it must be signed in a particular place, then you have to sign in a particular place. It must be signed by 2 directors, it must be signed by 2 directors. No way you can skip it. And if that's a risk or that's a legal, it's a compliance that you have to deal with. Okay?